Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Conversations with Therapists. Today we're interviewing Chrisanna. So, just to start off, Chrisanna, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey of what led you to become a behavioral nutritional therapist?
Yes. Well, that's interesting that you use that term. So I am in 1981, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison as with my Bachelor of Science in dietetics, and I became a registered dietitian. Most of my experience as a dietitian was working in hospitals and in nursing homes doing nutrition care and caring for people's nutritional needs. And then in 2005, I graduated with my master's degree in mental health counseling. And I was encouraged to combine the two disciplines and really go into eating disorders. And with that, I coined the term behavior nutrition therapy because what was I doing? I was teaching people how to change their behaviors around the food that they were eating. So that's what I started to call what I did. And one of my first contracts was with a gastric surgeon and who was doing bariatric surgery in 2008. And much of that working with the bariatric clients was talking about portion sizes and recognizing feelings of fullness. And after doing that for a while, in 2018, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Robert Pollack in Fort Myers with Psychiatric Associates, which was a full psychiatric office, not just doing private practice anymore. And we started to realize that every patient that came into the office, when we addressed their nutrition needs, well, of course, they had to decide, did they want to do that first? When we addressed their nutrition needs, they did not need as much medication. So, as a result, they were able to be more intentional about their behaviors because once the organism was stabilized from a nutritional perspective, everything was working better. The brain was working better. They were not making such rash decisions. They were able to deal with their depression better. So, and research now is proving that very fact. So it's kind of been a
Uh,
process.
hmm So that's super interesting that people actually, they needed much less medications. Um,
Yes.
how would you explain the connection between the mental health and um the food changes?
Well, that goes into the whole gut-brain axis. Over the last 20 years, there's been so much research about the relationship between the gut and the brain. Um, and so food and mental health are really closely related. Um, the food that we eat affects our brain structure and our function. In fact, we're seeing that younger people that are eating all of these ultra processed foods, the prefrontal cortex is actually shrinking and they are losing their ability to make um, decisions, the executive decisions, like being thoughtful about paying bills or, making decisions about what school to go to or, just moving forward with life. They're losing their ability or how to plan meals, how to cook. They're losing their ability to do that. So the food that we're eating actually is impacting the structure of our brain. And so it also impacts in our gut the production of the neurotransmitters that regulate our mood, regulate our sleep, our appetite, and also pain. Because if we have leaky gut and we allow some of these processed foods, or we allow food to get through the GI, through the microbiome and into the interstitial fluid of the body, if you will, that's like a foreign body. And so then we have all this inflammation. So, and that causes pain. So, what's the fix for that? Eating a well-balanced diet that's from whole foods, unprocessed foods, from all the food groups, and healthy fats that can nourish the brain and protect it from the oxidative stress and inflammation. So, and what we see then is decreased depression, decreased anxiety, decreased ADHD, and decreased dementia.
Wow.
Yes, this
Wow.
is huge.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like how connected food is to mental health. I don't think people realize like how large the impact can be.
Yes, in fact, so much so there is a not-for-profit, I think they established, I want to say 2014 or 2015. It's called Nutrition's Psychiatry. But they are trying to work to, it's a not-for-profit organization. They're trying to make a whole profession, a new profession out of this. And I always say, I'm like, I wish I was 20 years, even just 20 years younger. I wish I was, but I'm not. And Stanford has a whole new division now called metabolic psychiatry. This is going to be huge. I see that in the future, that psychiatry is going to be treating mental health with nutrition, because we already know that ketogenic diets, especially with schizophrenia, ketogenic diets are decreasing the delusions in schizophrenics, as well as decreasing the amount of gluten or eliminating gluten in people who have schizophrenia.
So we shouldn't be teasing people who are on a gluten-free diets.
No, you should not.
So how do you help people who have tried to lose weight unsuccessfully? I know there's a big diet culture in America, and people yo-yo or they go on different kinds of diets throughout their lives. What are your methods and how are they different? And how do you help people who have gone through all these different options to try and lose weight and haven't been successful?
So I'm laughing at this question because people do not show up in my office because it's the first time they're trying to lose weight. It's the American way to have a quick fix. And it has been pounded into the mindset in the American culture that if you eat less, you're going to lose weight. And so my clients, which is not true, my clients come in feeling defeated. My clients come in feeling out of control around their eating. My clients are serial dieters. Some of my clients have even had gastric surgery and gained the weight back. My clients are referred by their physicians because they have blood sugars out of control and they have the start of kidney disease. And sometimes my clients find me on Psychology Today because they go, you know what? There is something wrong with what I'm doing. And I have to think about maybe there's something in my mind going on that I need to change. So when they finally get to my office, I explain to them, first of all, that they're not crazy, that they have been sold a bill of goods, and that weight loss is not magic, it's science. And I explain the science to them. And we do lab values to assess if they're insulin resistant. And if they're insulin resistant, I let them know it's going to be very difficult for you to lose weight because you already have metabolic syndrome then. So we do body composition to find out what their lean body mass is. And then I plan a meal plan for them based on their lean body mass. Now, everybody has a different lean body mass. In fact, Sherry, I was just telling you about a client that I have this week, and she's almost 6 feet tall, And she has been on every diet in the book. She's 40 years old. We did her body composition. Her lean body mass is 185 pounds. She has muscle, bone, and organs. Just that's at 185 pounds. And she started and then we added 26% for body fat, which would be a normal percent of body fat for a 40-year-old woman. And her goal weight is 235. And she started crying. And she goes, that's attainable. And I said, yeah. And that's what you should weigh. That's healthy for you. She goes, I have been that weight before. And I was always told I should be under 200 pounds. And I said, no, that's why it was so hard for you to get below 230 and you gave up. So I help people understand, and what I do the hashtag. I'm not sure what hashtag means, but I see it all over the place. So I do hashtag own your own body, because I help people own their own body. We all have different bodies. So I help them to understand how their body functions. And then I give them a meal plan to help them to attain a healthy weight. And then once they reach their healthy weight, I give them a meal plan to be able to maintain that weight. And then we talk about behaviors, eating out, parties, how to strategize, sleep, exercise, healthy relationships. Also, when did the weight problems start? I've had people who grew up in alcoholic homes. Well, guess what? Alcohol and sugar, they go together. So maybe you're not drinking, but you're eating. So is there an addictive component there? So we look at all of that. We look at history. And then I did some postgraduate study with Pia Melody at the Meadows. We also talk about self-respect and boundaries. So I talk about changing. I ask my clients if they know what a gourmand is. And some know, some don't. And I talk about a gourmand is someone who is not aware of what they're eating. They're just eating to eat. But a gourmet is someone who is eating to enjoy the food, this tastes good, and then having some intention about it. And it's not the quantity, but it's the quality. And so I also talk about making for sure whatever you're putting in your mouth is calorie worthy. Is this calorie worthy for me to put in my mouth? So, like, for instance, I like to bake. And when my children were younger, we would always bake like homemade chocolate chip or homemade oatmeal raisin cookies. I could eat 2 of those, whereas Oreo cookies or something, I like keep eating them thinking they're going to taste better, and they never taste better. So that's where I coined the term, make it calorie worthy, because then you're not going to eat as much. If it's made from real ingredients, real food, it's going to nourish your body, and you're going to know when to stop. These processed foods have things in them to make us keep eating them. So, and also self-respect, because if you have any spiritual orientation, and even if you don't, if you just see this body as this body that you're walking on this earth with, you want to take care of it. So do you want to be respectful about this body that we've been given? Or if you don't have a spiritual orientation that you believe you just have, respect it, take care of it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, and there's a lot of emotions that go along with food and eating and weight loss. And so it's nice that you're able to manage both the physical aspect and the mental aspect.
It's all combined. And that's why in the next even 10 years, you're going to see specialists. Nobody ever got what I did. Like, is she a dietitian? Is she a therapist? Like, in fact, when I get referrals from Millennium, which is the healthcare corporation in my community, I get referrals for a dietitian. But
Mhm.
they send me their eating disorder people and the people who are really in bad shape. So they know that I do more than just, being a dietitian. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
It's very
Daniel,
it's
you're
very
on mute.
interesting. But
I
this
like
is worldwide.
I like what you said about respecting your body. There's so many cultures that believe that our body is like a temple, and we have to. That was something, strong moral foundation of humanity, that we should be treating our bodies with respect. But I saw a video recently on social media, and it was a lady. She'd lost a lot of weight, and she'd never and a lot of people were congratulating her, but she said that she'd used medication to lose this weight. And I was thinking for myself, I've struggled with dieting before, and I was thinking maybe I should think about trying one of these medications. What's your views? How would you advise somebody who's thinking about that?
So these medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro have been game changers for people, game changers. Because what happens is when you have high blood sugar, your body becomes insulin resistant, and so you're always hungry. And when you have extra adipose tissue or extra fat tissue, the hormones change in your GI tract. And so your brain only gets the message that you're hungry. That stays on all the time. So it's very hard not, to follow a meal plan. So these medications have been game changers. The problem is there are side effects. And the side effects are gastroparesis and gallbladder problems. Because what happens, the way these work is that they slow gastric emptying, and so your GI tract will fill up with food. In fact, I think it was CNN interviewed 2 women who have been off of these medications now for a year, and they're still having problems with constipation and gastroparesis. And in my little practice, I had 2 clients who were on Ozempic, and we discussed it. And they had a lot of adipose tissue, and yes, we agreed that this would be a route for them to go. However, when you have these medications, sometimes, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in America, I think an American is going to think, hey, I'm taking a shot. I can eat what I want to. And so over the holidays, both of these women lost their gallbladders. So what were they eating? I'm sure rich foods, because the gallbladder deals with breakdowns of fat. And one of my clients, her gallstones were so bad, she was so backed up, she had gallstones backed up into her stomach.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So there are risks with these medications. Now, can you deal with that ghrelin with a meal plan? You better believe it. Because I've had people lose 100 pounds before we had all these medications.
Do you think that these medications are more of the same, like quick fix diet mentality?
Yes. And it does not give people the
The tools.
opportunity or to look at the root cause of their overeating.
Mhm.
Do I have a food addiction? Am I trying to cover shame for something? I've had a lot of the people who've had gastric surgery who gained the weight back. I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of the clients I've worked with, they've been sexually abused. So they lose the weight, and then their partner wants to be intimate with them. Well, the weight comes back. Because what is the weight? What does that adipose tissue mean? I do not, it's a buffer. It's the safety. It keeps me, it's my buffer from the rest of the world. And so we have to get then into that. All right, this is not a healthy buffer. This is impacting your heart. It's impacting your liver. It's impacting your brain. Let's deal with the root cause of this buffer of adipose tissue.
Wow, that's
And
so
that's how deep the behavior nutrition therapy goes. Like I do an 8-week session, but just to get people on track, to get their body changed. But then we get into the psychotherapy. What got you to this place? And to be honest with you, Daniel and Sherry, I think these shows like the 500-pound life and all of that, those are shameful shows. Those are shameful. That to me, I think those poor people, that's like the carnival putting the people, out for people to come and walk past and look at them, like the old-fashioned carnivals, where they would put people who had malformations and body deformities and things like that out like they were freaks. I think it's shameful because these people who are 500 pounds, they have an eating disorder. And a lot of it has been because they have been duped into eating these ultra processed foods that are made to be addictive. And let me tell you, in the 60s, the food chemists that were working for Frito-Lay and all the different food companies, they knew this because it's called the bliss point, the right amount of sugar, salt, and fat to make a food addictive.
Wow.
Yes.
So there are also systemic issues at play.
Yes, systemic, absolutely. Absolutely. The systemic issues you mean in the body? The medical issues?
I mean, yes, in the body, but I meant like in terms of the food industry and the medical industry.
I'm looking around for Chris Van Tolken's book because, oh, here it is. I pull it out every day. He's from the UK, ultra processed people. And he talks about this. Chris Van Tolken, he's a doctor, an MD from the UK, and he talks about it in the UK. The UK has a socialized medicine system. They cannot afford to take care of all these health problems that are stemming from the processed food that people are eating. And when I travel in Europe and in the British Isles and I see McDonald's or Burger King, I just I hide my head in shame. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe that these American fast food places are
And they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere, and they are poisoning the world. But I will say what I noticed in Europe is you do not have the super sizes. Like they only have, you don't see people coming out with like supersized fries and burgers that are, 6 inches tall and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're normal sizes. So I think there's more regulation.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to people who are feeling hopeless and they've gone through the trial and error of different diets and weight loss processes, what advice would you give to them?
Oh my gosh. Go to www.nutritionpsychotherapy.com. We have so much information there. So the blog has a plethora of information. In fact, we just put up the mathematics of weight loss so people understand it is not magic, it's science. And if you understand the science behind how your body uses energy, which are calories, and how to make your body healthy, it's not brain surgery. It's like, oh yeah, I can do this. So go to nutritionpsychotherapy.com and you even get a free telephone consult from me.
Okay, we'll link to the website also when we post this episode so that people can find it easily.
Yes, please do. So, any other questions?
Yes. I've heard that you also help other people who, like nutritional therapists, qualify for work.
So, yes, this is so exciting. So, I am 65 years old this year. Actually, I'm going to be 66 this year. I turned 65 last year.
66
And
years young.
Oh, you were much
yes,
younger.
you are what you eat. So, anyway, I am now training other people to do what I do. And what our hope is, the term of the credential is going to be a food behavior coach. And the goal is for these food behavior coaches, they can work on their own. They can have their website. They can either link to nutrition psychotherapy, or they can have their own website, or they can work in a psychiatric office. Because of the gut brain research that we have and the link between the gut and the brain, I see this as being mandatory. It's going to be such a tool for psychiatric offices to have someone in their office to be able to work with clients to help them make decisions around food and to teach them about food. In fact, I just opened a new office in Port St. Lucie with Dr. Joanna Van Vliet in her office with Florida Psychiatry Associates in Port St. Lucie.
Okay, so I know you've
starting-
referenced, I know you've referenced like different clients and people who you've worked with in the past, but is there one success story or anecdote that jumps out at you? I know this isn't one of the questions that we prepared, but just talking to you, I feel like you have so many amazing stories. Is there one that stands out in particular as one you want to share?
I think probably the one is, and this is before Ozempic. This was like back in 2016. This is before all of this. There was a client whose mother put her on a diet when she was in middle school. And this happens so often because when children are in middle school, when they're going to go into puberty, both boys and girls are going to put on some adipose tissue around their middle. And that is because girls are going to make estrogen, boys are going to make testosterone. We need fat to make hormones. That's what hormones are made from. So if you just leave them alone, don't like put them on diets, let them eat normally, let them run around, play their sports, all that sort of thing. By the time they get to be 14 years old, they're going to be thin. Just leave them alone. But a lot of parents freak out and put their kids on diets when they're in middle school. So this happened to this client. She happened to be a big bone girl, and she had a lot of muscle mass. She she was in the marching band, and so she carried an instrument. She was meant to be doing that. She was 5'8", and she was a big girl. She started sneaking food because she wasn't eating enough to meet her needs. So she was always hungry. She started sneaking food. And then she got a name, something Beryl. And then that followed her throughout high school. In college, she continued to sneak and eat. By the time she found me, and I'm trying to think how she found me. I don't even remember if her doctor referred me, but anyway, she found me, and she was 54 years old, weighed 322 pounds, and was almost chair-bound, walked with a cane because she had lupus.
Wow.
And now this is before all these medications. So we did the labs. She was pre-diabetic pretty much. So I'm thinking, why am I the one finding this out? I send her back to her primary care saying, I think you need to be on metformin to lower this blood sugar. So we put her on metformin, and then we started the nutrition, psychotherapy, the behavior, nutrition therapy, did the meal plan, all of this. So her exercise plan, because remember, she had lupus and she was so inflamed. Get out of your chair, walk to your front door. Okay, so she did that. Next week, get out of your chair, walk through the front door, down your steps. She did that. Next week, get out of your chair, walk through the front door, down your front steps to the mailbox and back. She did that. Okay, after a year, she was walking half a mile down the road and back. So she was walking a mile a day after a year. She lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And her lupus indicators were next to nothing.
Wow.
The inflammation in her body had gone to nil.
Wow.
And this is behavior nutrition therapy.
Wow. Well, I think we have to just end on that note because that was an amazing story. So thank you, Chrisanna, so much for speaking with us today. The best way to reach you would be on your website. Is that the best way?
The best way.
Okay, amazing. And we'll link to that. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.